like to introduce our next speaker for the humorous speech contest, Steve Willis. Paradigm Shift, Steve Willis.
Fellow Toastmasters and guests, have you ever been given a new responsibility, task, or been promoted to a higher position in which your mentor turns to you and says, "Now I want you to forget everything that you knew up to this point"? What is he saying? Now that type of forgetting is a little different from when us husbands turn to our wives and say, "Now what was that you just said?" That'll get you in trouble. No, what he is saying is, if you want to be successful at this new endeavor, you will need to change your paradigm. Now, what is a paradigm? A paradigm is like a pair of sunglasses. This is how you see the world. It's based on your experiences, the way you were raised, your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, all those things come into the way you perceive the world. And unfortunately, sometimes, what comes at you also gets filtered in through that experience. So you may misinterpret it. That's why he's saying you'll need a new paradigm if you want to be successful. I've been interested in this subject, and I thought I'll put together a list. But because this is supposed to be humorous, we're going to take it from a different perspective. Mr. Couch Potato, how would he remain at the other end of the paradigm shift without moving in the direction he wants to? Let's put a face on our Mr. Couch Potato. He's a friend of mine. Actually, he used to be a friend of mine. He was 40 years old at the time. He did not work for a living. He was divorced. If he needed something, he asked his folks. And since his folks did not have a whole lot of money, he was always scraping the bottom. You've got the picture. If Mr. Couch Potato is supposed to be, shall we say, successful, he needs to remember to never evaluate where he is in life. I was sitting there watching a movie with him one time. I kept having to swallow away the food falls. Part of the reason why was because if you ever went into his house, the trash was waist up. It was kind of scary. You had to kind of make your way in. Funniest thing, I asked him, I said, "It's kind of hard to watch the movie. He's like, "I'm having to swap these fruit flies." You know what he said? I almost fell off my chair when he said it. He said, "I know, there's something around here." I don't know what it is. There's something around here. I thought to myself, no, you might have a point there. There could be something around here. It could be dangerous. There could be something around here. If he wants to be an effective couch potato, he should never take responsibility for what got him there in the first place. You know, I asked him one time, I said, "Hey, I need to use a restroom. Let me run across the hallway." I opened up the door, and I about fell back. "Whoa, buddy, what are you baking in here?" Oh, to save on the water bill, I just flush the toilet every 2-3 days. Okay, don't take responsibility. See, the rest of you, we might say, "Hey, we don't want an odoriferous house," or "We don't like fruit flies." But that never seemed to cross his mind. He was amazing. It was incredible. The third thing he needs to remember is, don't control the internal environment. You know that chatter, that self-talk that we have? See, I might say to myself, "Steve, you fat son of gravy and biscuits." Or I could say, "You know what? I'm excited about the changes that I'm bringing into my life." I might even write down positive affirmations, put them on the gear shift, put them on the refrigerator, record them, listen to them on the way to work. Always control that environment. He, on the other hand, he'd stay up all night watching movies and then have to sleep during the day, and he didn't control that internal environment. Now, positive thinking is not just enough, or the lack of it. If you and I wanted to do brain surgery tomorrow, we could not do it just based on positive thinking, could we? So it would be important if he wants to be victorious as a couch potato, to avoid the knowledge, skill, and education that we might add to our life. It might be painful. It might be you have to give up money, friends, time, whatever it takes for you to make the paradigm shift. But for him, I was like, whoa, that's too much like work. I'm not sure I want to do that. I can understand. You know, part of success is determining what it is that you have to give up to get there. I showed up one time. Now, this was after 3 years of the friendship. And I had a roll of 100 trash bags. And I hadn't told him, although I had kind of hinted for a couple of weeks that I was going to do this, and he seemed to be okay. But I showed up, and I just started at the doorway in his bedroom. And I'd fill one trash bag, put it in the hallway. Fill another, put it in the hallway. He was a little aggravated at this, and it tended to escalate. Finally, 2 hours later, he had me stop. He said, Steve, I don't come into your house, rearrange your house. And I thought after 3 years our friendship could handle it, but you know what really got me was he said he was going to go back out to the curb and bring those 13 bags of trash. Because he was afraid that I might have thrown away something valuable. I was amazed. What are you willing to give up to make the paradigm shift? He wasn't quite there, obviously. I would say the last thing we should keep in mind is isolation. He should be willing to isolate himself from those who might give him feedback. You know, my friends might tell me, with sunglasses, they might say, Steve, you know, it's nighttime. You don't need those glasses anymore. And I might tip them a little bit and say, hey, you know what? You got a point. I think it was Solomon who said, faithful are the wounds of a friend. You really want your friends to give you feedback. But if he's to be victorious and triumphant as a couch potato, he needs to isolate himself. So, if he wants to be successful, effective, triumphant, victorious, he needs to keep that list in mind. You know, Zig Ziglar used to say, I'll see you at the top. If he does those things, you and I will see him at the bottom. Madam